We are live.
Good afternoon and welcome to the January 7th, 2021 meeting of the Town Board of East Hampton. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Leese.
Present.
Councilwoman Overby.
Here.
Councilman Bragman.
Here.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
You can say it.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
To the
America,
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Today we'll have two public hearings, and we do also have our town crier with us today. But before we get started, I would like to make a comment about the events of yesterday. Yesterday, we witnessed the violent assault on our nation's capital by an attempt to prevent Congress from counting the Electoral College votes for certification of the election of our next president. These despicable and shameful acts are a direct attack on our democracy, and we must all repudiate them regardless of political party affiliation. We must never resort to violence in settling our differences. It is the obligation and duty of every citizen to adhere to the rule of law and to respect the rights of others. We must all work harder to engage in respectful and constructive dialogue in airing our differences. Here in East Hampton, we have come together for the benefit of all in this disastrous pandemic. This same spirit must be infused into our political debates so that while we may not be united in opinion, we can still be united in purpose. For several days now, bald eagles have frequented the town hall campus. These majestic birds, once threatened with extinction, are no longer listed on the endangered species list. Right now, we need to pay close attention to our endangered democracy and work to live up to our declared name, the United States of America. At this point, I would like to also...
Peter, if I may, I'd like to make a short statement as well, given the extreme circumstances with your...
Of course, Jeff, please do.
I just wanted to say that the situation that we face is about one man who took part in a democratic process, a national election, and who doesn't want to admit something that we all know, that he lost. And sometimes in elections, as in court proceedings, at the ballot box or in court, you do lose. But after the process ends and you've done your best, the loss is tempered by knowing that you were heard fully and fairly. And so, frankly, you shut up and you move on because the process is bigger than any one person involved. But I think we have to say clearly that Mr. Trump is a bully. And when we allow bullies to run things, we learn the hard way that they don't care when people aren't heard. And they don't care when people get hurt. And when they're in charge, bullies don't serve the people, they serve themselves. So we don't have to look that deeply to see the cause for this criminal invasion and attack on the floors of our houses of Congress. The insurrection was launched explicitly by the words of a bully who put our Capitol and the people that work there and serve there in lethal danger. And he did it for one simple reason, just to get his own way, regardless of the law. And I just wanted to say that our democratic institutions have stood soundly for more than 2 centuries. And they're not just beautiful granite buildings and marble corridors of power in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Democracy endures and is sustained by something that's less tangible. In fact, it's intangible. It's an idea. It's an inspiration in all of us, namely that justice and fair play, fragile though they can appear, are real, and that they are our best hope for protection against bullies, and they best enable us to make people's lives better. There is hard work ahead for us to repair the damage. It's not just to our symbols, but to ourselves. And I feel strongly as somebody who's lived by the law that we have to start by scrupulously following the law, from our smallest towns like East Hampton to the halls of Washington. And we have to do what the American bargain has always required us to do and what we have always done, to work harder, to do better. And as we follow the path forward, to be guided by the law, knowing that it leads to the only kind of true justice. And that is the only thing that can endure for the next 2 centuries. And that's my hope for the country, that we'll learn the lesson and endure.
Thank you for your comments, Jeff.
Peter, if I may.
Absolutely, Kathy.
The images we've seen of Washington, D.C. played out live on our TV, our phones, our tablets, and on social media are difficult to reconcile. And I denounce the abhorrent behavior of the insurrectionists who breached our nation's capital, fueled by our president. Not surprisingly, these events in Washington, D.C. have members of our community, especially our children, upset and scared. While Washington, D.C. is 300 miles away, I know some of our community members are expressing concerns about their own safety and the security of our community. I want those folks to know that I hear you and I share your concerns. This is an upsetting time for our country, but please know that the town of East Hampton will do everything in our power to protect our residents from any infringement of their rights or threats to their safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate the eloquent words of my fellow board members. And, I think that at this juncture, we're all very concerned about the events that have taken place, but I think we need to redouble our efforts within our own community, especially make sure that we maintain the same sort of civility that we have to this time, and that we've had a very open process here. And I think this is a pretty shining example, frankly, of the way government should work. And unfortunately, all too often in Washington lately, our national government's been extremely divided. And, it was heartening to see the 4 former presidents come together and make statements denouncing this, that our former, military leaders also came together, regardless of party, and said that there are some things much more important than political expediency of the moment. And that is, as Jeff eloquently stated, it is our democracy. Our founding fathers and mothers worked very hard to ensure that fledgling country got off to a good start. And I would recommend to everyone at this time, look up a copy of the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence, and just sit back at your leisure and read those documents, because they are absolutely inspiring and ring so true right to this very day. And I think as a country, we also need to redouble our efforts in education and put our focus back on civics. And so that our young citizens are being trained as to what the proper recourse for their grievances is, and that we have a legal process to do that. That doesn't have to resort in violence. What we saw yesterday, as many have said, is much more like the actions that you would expect after an election in a third world country. And, we are supposed to be the shining house on that hill of democracy. And I was somewhat comforted by some of the discussion within our halls of Congress last night as I watched the debates move forward. People realizing now just how tenuous things have become. And I think there has to be a move to come together. And it's not just up to our elected leaders, it's up to every single person in our country to take some responsibility and fulfill their obligations and duties as a citizen in a democracy, to participate, but also to be respectful of the differing, divergent opinions of others, and have a fair and open debate. But let's not continue to demean each other because we disagree. That really has to stop. So I think this is a moment to take pause and to seriously consider what has taken place, and for every individual to redouble their efforts to make sure that we continue to try and uphold the law and to become the best we can be as a nation, as a country, and as a town, frankly. And with that being said, I would like to give an update on another crisis that we're facing. We, as everyone knows at this point, we've been, over 300 days in a worldwide pandemic, one that has cost over 350,000 lives in this country alone. We have worked hard here locally to protect our populace. And one of the important aspects of that is testing. And from the very beginning of this pandemic, it was clear that testing would be an important component. Initially, there weren't any tests available, and it was really only one testing center at the beginning. That was Stony Brook Hospital. As more tests became available, more testing sites became available, we pushed for those resources in the state and county health department to include testing here on the South Fork. There was no testing on the South Fork provided, and we had to act on our own. And we partnered with the East Hampton Healthcare Foundation and with Stony Brook Hospital to provide testing. Yesterday was the first day of a 7-day-a-week rollout of testing center here at Town Hall, worked on and authorized by this town board to bring additional testing to East Hampton, because as someone recently said, it falls on us to take that up. My own personal opinion is that federal resources should have been put in place to aid all of the states rather than just pushing all the responsibility off on the states. I think this required a unified approach from the beginning. And because of the lack of resources and organization, we're still in this pandemic. We could have been done with this. We had 125 people tested just yesterday alone at the testing center. It was a little bit of a bumpy start. We did have the website for scheduling appointments went down at one point. We are allowing drive-ups to be tested. However, I strongly encourage you that if you're trying to get a test, that you schedule an appointment to do so. And the website for doing that is testbeforeyougo.com. So, I think it's been a great start. I will be speaking with my fellow board members about trying to set up an additional site in Montauk as soon as we can get it up and running, because I think, there's quite a bit of demand town-wide, but certainly the far reaches of Montauk could also benefit from testing there. We did work facilitating testing there over the summer with the hospital, but they had to pull back to central East Hampton because of the schools being back in session. Vaccinations are being allocated by the federal government to the states. New York State's distributing certified vaccination, is certifying vaccination sites. We're still in phase 1A of that rollout, which is eligible. Eligible people include healthcare professionals, first responders in medical roles, EMTs, medical examiners, coroners and funeral workers, ambulatory care providers, and persons living and working in long-term care facilities. Stony Brook Hospital has reached out to those eligible directly and through related organizations to make sure they know how the vaccine doses are being allocated and provided by the state. Stony Brook staff will be receiving the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine beginning today. Healthcare providers must apply to and get approval from the state to serve as vaccination sites. And, the vaccination can be performed now by pharmacists, nurses, and other healthcare workers. Phase 1B would include eligible frontline workers such as educators, fire and police personnel, and those age 75 or older. I think we may be 4 or 5 weeks away from the Phase B rollout. That includes those that I just mentioned. And I think that, the idea is to try and finish up with the frontline healthcare workers first. Phase C would include other essential workers, and that definition is yet to come from the state. Plus those 16 years of age or older at high risk because of high risk medical conditions, and then people 65 years of age and older. Distribution to the general public will come after that. And that's again at least a month away. But I think there is hope on the horizon, and as soon as we can get everyone vaccinated, that we can hopefully put this part of the current nightmare behind us, and get back to a greater sense of normalcy. There will be, I think, more challenges ahead, and the town is working to facilitate whatever additional vaccination sites are needed within the town. Currently, again, they're planning on rolling this out and sending the doses to pharmacies and other healthcare professionals within the town. But we have also made known that we can make available the CDCH building as a vaccination site if the state would provide the resources to do so. That'd be a perfect site to have drive-up vaccines. The cases here continue to rise. We have over 890 cases in town now. That number has more than tripled since Halloween. I urge everyone to please be cautious if you do need to go out. The number of cases in town are much higher now than they were during the initial outbreak. And, we managed to slow that down to the lockdown, but since our economy and businesses and whatnot is still open, those further restrictions haven't been put in place. I think the chance of transmission has increased greatly. I will also say that something around 70% or more of the cases that have been identified are the result of what's known as living room contact, where you have people from outside of your immediate living situation come into your house and socialize. So even though you might be wearing masks and sitting in opposite sides of the room, we're seeing that this is the greatest form of transmission. So that all being said, I'd like to move on now to our town crier, Hugh King.
Peter, can I just inject one comment? I think we could also mention that a local physician, George Dempsey, is also offering testing, and that's a benefit.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I did mention that on my Facts at 5 taping today. Thanks for reminding us of that, Dr. Dempsey.
So Southampton Hospital is still at the high school too.
Right.
In Thursday's appointments.
Exactly. So Southampton Hospital's at the high school. They're operating 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe. Dr. Dempsey has expanded the testing beyond his own practice now. I think he had hired on some additional staff, so you could contact his office as well as a possible location for testing. So if there's nothing else to be said by board members at this point, I'll move on to our town crier, Hugh King.
Hi, thank you for all that introduction. When I go into the post office and there's a line of people, I start telling them the history of the post office in Amagansett. And while I was doing that, I got asked a question I didn't know the answer to. And the question was, how come in Amagansett there isn't rural free delivery at people's mailboxes? One of the post office workers said it was the town board years ago who said no, because they didn't want a lot of post office trucks driving around the town. Now, I don't know if that's true. I've reached out to the town attorney and we're trying to figure out who or when that decision was made, all right? But I'll tell you the history of the post office in Amagansett, and you don't even have to go there, okay? The first time we find out that mail was delivered in Amagansett was in 1835, when it was delivered to a house that was right next to the current farmer's market. If you're looking at the farmer's market or Amber Waves, right to the left, there was a house. It belonged to Mr. Conklin. That house has since been torn down. But the biggest mail courier in Amagansett was Jeremiah Baker. Jeremiah Baker started a stage run from Amagansett to Sag Harbor in 1858. And he went there to pick up the mail that was coming into the harbor. And he'd come down the Sag Harbor Turnpike, Route 114, honk his horn as he get near Main Street, and then he would deliver the mail. And when he came to Amagansett, I don't know where he delivered the mail, but you know where the Atlantic Realty Company was, Tunhan's Realty Place? Well, if you look above it, there's a whole white wooden structure. And that building was called Racket and Company. Then it was Conklin and Hand Store. Then it was Conklin and Company Store. And in the back of those buildings, there was a little post office, okay? And up above was a place called Pioneer Hall. And in the 1880s, there was a theater event there called Uncle Tom's Cabin was performed in Amagansett in about 1884. All right, so there was a theater up there, there was a dance hall, there was a bowling alley up there. And then we come to about 1930. In Carlton's book, there's a picture of the post office, Ralston's store, Joe's restaurant, which later became Gordon's, and Rana's barbershop. All right. Then by the 1960s, there weren't enough post office boxes for the people in Amagansett. So people were having to get their mail to general delivery. And it would come to the post office and they'd have to go pick it up. So, of course, they needed a bigger post office. Well, meanwhile, down the street, where the Inner Sleeve record store is, was the IGA. Bob Moss and Bob Winslow owned the IGA. They wanted to expand it. You know where they were going to build it? Where Miss Amelia's cottage is. They were going to buy that property and then put the IGA there. The Amagansett Historical Association was formed. They raised the money, they bought the place. Now, to their credit, Bob Moss and Bob Winslow then moved the IGA down to where it is now. And I think the land that the post office was on was sold to them by Bernie Zeldin. I believe he was the realtor there. So that's how the post office got to where it is today. And you didn't have to go to the post office to hear this, all right? So next time when I show up, maybe we'll have an answer to who decides where the mail gets delivered or picked up. And then you all will prepare a question for me, okay? That's it.
Okay, thanks so much, Hugh.
Thank you.
Stay safe and be well.
Okay, honey, we're done.
Hey.
Yay.
So we have two public hearings today. One is to amend Chapter 73, regulating aircraft in town waters, and the second is a conservation and scenic easement. And Carol, would you please read the first hearing notice?
First, I will read the COVID disclosure. Due to the public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19, the town board will not be meeting in person. In accordance with the governor's executive order 202.1, said public hearing of the town board will be held via video conferencing, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The public will have the opportunity to see and hear the meeting live and provide comments. The public can watch the public hearing live on local TV channel 22 and live online at the public meetings link on the LTV website. If any interested members of the public would like to provide comments on the project and the financing thereof, comments can be called in during the meeting. The conference number for such purposes will be made available on the live stream and also on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the start of the public hearing. Written comments and/or questions may also be submitted via email to the town clerk at the following email address: cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov. Said comments and/or questions will be considered at the public hearing, provided that they are submitted by email no later than 9 a.m. prevailing time on the day of the public hearing, or submitted via telephone by way of a conference number provided on the town by the town at the time of the hearing. Pursuant to the requirements of the executive order of the governor of the state of New York, a transcript will be prepared of the public hearing and a copy shall be filed with the town clerk and placed upon the town's website, and comments will be accepted in writing by the town clerk to be received by email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov or by mail to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, within 1 week of the posting of the public hearing transcript. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for further instructions or for any changes to the instructions to access the public hearing or for updated information. Please take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard to consider any and all comments in relation to the proposed local law amending Chapter 73 aircraft of the town code to adopt regulations on the operation of seaplanes within the town to ensure compliance with the town's oversight and safe use of its municipal waters, and abstract of which follows. Amendment to 73-1 to prohibit the landing or takeoff or taxi of helicopters on or from the waters, beaches, or on any land within the town of East Hampton except on Gardiner's Island, the town airport, and the Montauk Airport, and to prohibit the landing, takeoff, or taxi, or emplaning or deplaning of any seaplane on or from town beaches and waterways, trustee waters and beaches, town waters, town docks, and/or floats, and to provide an exception to aircraft operated by any federal, state, or local government, any emergency services, evacuation services, public or private, and any operation by any aircraft in an emergency, and accepting from such regulations seaplane operations that originate from or terminate at Gardiner's Island. A full text of the proposed local law shall be available from the town clerk's office and will be available on the town's website.
Thank you, Carol. We have our outside counsel, William O'Connor and Andrew Farr, here to give us an introduction before we open up the hearing to public comment.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with you to go through a brief overview of the proposed amendment, and then I'll be happy to field any questions after that. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we can, Andrew.
Perfect. So looking at the resolution that Ms. Brennan just went through, I'm going to provide a very brief overview, then I'll walk through the actual proposed amendment, explain the scope of the amendment, provide a map, which will be a visual aid for anyone who's trying to see exactly how this would apply to them, if at all, and then discuss the penalty section. So seaplanes operating in the town waters raise health, safety, and environmental concerns. We discussed that at length in the whereas clauses. I will not go through all of them. I just want to point out that the public nuisance and safety hazards associated with the seaplanes is well known and well established. And the town and town board has considered all of these very real concerns when putting together both section 1 of the resolution as well as the whereas clauses. The town also does have authority under municipal law to do this. There are no concerns from federal or state preemption. The town's zoning and police powers give it the right to regulate seaplane operations within the waters of its jurisdiction, and that's all that this law is trying to do. And because of that, the town provides the following proposal to the Town Code Chapter 73 related to seaplane operations in waters within its jurisdiction. As mentioned, the town board considered the hazards and public nuisance of seaplanes in its waters, and these just outline some of those considerations that the town looked at. Obviously, you have the physical hazard of a spinning propeller that the town discusses with hazard to beachgoers, other vessels, things of that nature. The seaplane also has environmental concerns for invasive species and degradation of marine vegetation. These aren't all of the issues that the town board considered, but one's worthy of highlight here. This is the current town code. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but just to give a sense of what the proposal is trying to do, it's just expanding the scope of what was already a prohibition. Here's section 1 of the proposal. As you can see, seaplanes are being prohibited from taking off, taxiing, enplaning, or deplaning any passenger on town beaches and waterways, trustees, waters and beaches, town waters, town docks, and floats. All of those locations are already defined in Chapter 246 of the town code. There's no effort here to redefine or broaden the jurisdiction of the town. It's just explaining all the waters and beaches within the town's jurisdiction where seaplanes are no longer allowed to operate. There is an exception for all emergency operations in public aircraft, such as government aircraft or evacuation services. And there's an exception for operations to and from Gardiner's Island. Those are set forth in section 2. And as a note, any exception for an operation at Gardiner's Island will require pre-approval from the town board or a delegate of the town board. That is currently the airport liaison. In terms of the scope, just to give a sense, I'm going to go through these quickly because the map is going to be the easiest way to understand the scope of the prohibition. But town beaches and waterways, trustee waters and beaches, this is very similar to the current town code in terms of its scope. Town waters, town docks and floats, and I added the definition here just to make it clear exactly what that does and does not pertain to. And this, I think, is the easiest way to understand where the proposed amendment would prohibit seaplane operations. So looking at this map, anything with the red or pink highlighting is town waters within the jurisdiction of East Hampton, and that is where the prohibition applies. So any water that is not within the town's jurisdiction obviously is not covered by this and certainly falls outside the scope of the proposed amendment. And finally, section 3 talks about penalties. These penalties are just reflecting the current understanding of what deterrence would be required to ensure compliance with this. It takes into account several factors, including the operating costs of seaplanes and things of that nature, and it updated the very, very old penalty structure that was in place in the current amendment. I'm sorry, the current regulation. And then enforcement can come from anyone with appropriate authority from the town board, all the individuals you'd expect, police, constables, etc., as well as anyone that the town board may specifically provide a delegation of that authority to. In order to effectuate the amendment as proposed, there will be 2 other sections of the town code that need to be adjusted. One deals with section 91-4, beaches and parks. And the other is chapter 255, which is zoning. And that's just a reflection of this being a proper enactment of the town's zoning ability. So I know we went through that quickly, but I wanted to leave time for any questions you may have, members of the town board.
Thank you very much, Andrew. If there's no comments from the board at this point, we'll move on to public comments.
Mr. Supervisor, we have a few callers on hold. I will unmute the first caller if you'd like right now.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Unmuting now. Hello, caller. Last 4 digits, 75.
Hello.
Hello, you're live with the town board. Could you state your name, please?
Teresa McCaskey.
Hello, Teresa. How are you?
Hi. Okay, and yourself?
Very well, thank you.
I'm calling Very good. A Happy New Year to the entire board. I just wanted to say thank you very much for making these changes in order to do what's good for the environment, and greatly appreciate the town board taking these steps. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for taking the time to call us, Teresa. Stay safe and be well.
Thank you. Be safe, and thank you. Same to you, to all of you. Thank you.
Moving on to the
Michael,
next.
do we have any other callers on the line?
Yes, we do. Moving on to the next caller. Unmuting right now. Hello, caller with the last four digits 7723. Are you there? Hello, caller. Hearing nothing, Mr. Supervisor, I can move on. There's about 10, 12 callers on hold.
Okay, please do. Thank you.
I'm unmuting the next caller on hold now. Hello, caller. Last four digits 1650. Are you there? Hello, caller.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Good afternoon.
All right, yes. Hi, thank you for taking the call. My name is Alan Ram. I'm the principal of Tailwind, one of the seaplane operators that comes into East Hampton and Montauk over the summer. We're a veteran-owned small business that's been operating in the area for 7 years. And I wanted to, a couple of things. I wanted to ask a little bit more clarification on the nature of the hazard and environmental threats. The evidence, or I should say the items cited, seem to be, well, possible. You know, I don't see any evidence of any injuries related to propellers, invasive species being transferred via seaplanes, or any of the other items. So I'm curious, you know, what incidents might have occurred that have made this the remedy to those issues. I'm also curious about the environmental, you know, pollutive or other concerns of the seaplanes. If anyone has looked at the amount of traffic vis-a-vis any other means of transportation in the area. I was also curious if anyone looked at economic impact. I can't speak to other you know, of our other operators and like us, but I can say that a significant portion, if not the majority, of our clients are East Hampton and local homeowners that are using our service as a point of transfer, a rapid point of transfer into New York City and other destinations. You know, certainly both the local workers, we do have a tourist element as well, but certainly the homeowners, and especially with COVID, who have spent more time in East Hampton than they might otherwise, have used our service as a means to get in and out of the area. And you know, has anyone looked at the economic impact of eliminating the capabilities to use the waterways for this service? And you know, it seems that a total ban on any waterway in the town, without any exception for, you know, likely used areas or something that might be less of a nuisance for particular homeowners, would seem like a sledgehammer solution to what is, in our view, an insignificant problem. I see a fairly de minimis impact, again, in the vis-a-vis the grand scheme of environmental and safety hazards. You know, seaplanes have operated with the maritime community in eastern Long Island for 75 years without significant incidents. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Alan. I wonder if you could give us some input as to, you know, how many flights you might be conducting within town waters, and, you know, what you see the impact economically as. I think it's important to hear from operators.
Sure. I mean, from a the vast majority of the waterways and beaches, you're really talking about only a handful. It's mainly a specific charter request to a home or hotel where we use a beach. In terms of scheduled operations, it's really the Sag Harbor itself, the waters outside Sag Harbor, where we primarily are coming in and out of as a shuttle service. That's really the most of the vast majority of the red on the map here is something that's only used on an occasional on-demand basis.
So most of your flights, you said,
in terms
are
of
like,
sorry.
Yeah, most of your flights are in the Sag Harbor area, like Northwest Harbor. Is that where you land?
Yes, that's right.
And then how do you offload your passengers?
Almost exclusively transfer to a boat in the mooring area. So we don't tend to dock the seaplanes,
Right.
but obviously that is something that can occur.
So how would this prohibition affect you then if you're primarily operating in the harbor and offloading onto boats?
So looking at the map, at least as I see it in the presentation, the red area in and around Sag Harbor is where we M-plane and D-plane. So even if we're not even taking off in those waters, this would ban us from, presuming that the authorities consider the boat transfers to be M-planing and D-planing, that would even ban that possibility.
Understood. Well, we certainly appreciate getting your input today as we consider this legislation. And we hope you stay safe as well.
Yes, thank you for the consideration.
Michael, we have another caller waiting.
Yes, we do. I'm unmuting the next caller in queue. The last 4 digits are 1398 right now.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sean Scuderi. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Tarter, Krinstein, Drogan. Our firm has been retained by a number of interested residents as well as other parties to this proposed seaplane ban in East Hampton. I'd like to start out by first saying a thank you to those who spoke at the beginning of this meeting today and addressed those tragic events of yesterday. It was definitely refreshing, as well as encouraging to hear the words of each of you with regards to the preservation and protection of our democracy, our democratic rights, and the rights of our citizens. So it's really, along those lines with what we addressed today with regards to protecting our seaplane community in face of this proposed legislation trying to impose an absolute ban on their rights that have been longstanding in this area. As written, and you can see it clearly on the map, this legislation really proposes a complete ban on seaplane use, which is effectively taking away these travel rights of the residents in the area. We had submitted earlier this week a written statement on behalf of these parties proposing some proposed alternative methods of achieving the stated goals of the town, as well as trying to still protect these rights of the seaplane community in the area. Namely, what we're asking for is a designated area for takeoff and landings, which will have a minimal nuisance to the residents of the area, as well as removing this proposed ban on the taxi, M-plane, and D-plane into the area. The way we see it is that this proposed legislation really is arbitrary and goes well beyond what is needed to address the town's stated goals. We've talked about it a few times, and the prior caller just questioned it as well. We haven't seen really any true data, any evidence that there really are true devastating concerns with regards to safety and environmental issues by the use of seaplane in the area. And what was presented before this was opened up to public comment was very vague. So what we're proposing, and we'd like to work with the board and with everybody to try to find a common middle ground here, is first allow a designated area. We proposed in our written statement, and the map we provided there was an area in Gardner's Bay. This area would allow the takeoff and landing of seaplanes over open waters only. You know, the planes wouldn't be flying overhead of residential homes and residential areas, so the issue of nuisance should really be solved there. You know, there's already restrictions on where they can fly. This would tighten it even further, but it would still preserve the rights to use the seaplanes in the area. The second request that we have is to still allow the taxi, M-plane, and D-plane of seaplanes. And the prior caller just raised that concern as well. What you're doing is preventing the planes from even being in the waters at all. Once a seaplane lands, it is no different than a watercraft. And what we're seeing here is really discrimination against the seaplane community of using their planes in the waters versus that of any other watercraft in the area. And we have countless boats operating these waters on a daily basis, and we're not seeing any data whatsoever or any reasonable rationale as to how the use of a seaplane in the waters for taxiing or M-plane and D-plane purposes creates any more of a nuisance, safety hazard, environmental concern than those boats that regularly traverse these waters. So with that, what we ask is that you consider these alternative approaches set forth in more detail in the written statement that we submitted, and really reconsider what's being proposed, which is the complete and absolute ban of seaplane travel.
Thank you for your comments, Sean, and the materials you sent earlier in the week. We'll certainly take them into consideration.
Much appreciated. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Stay safe and be well.
Mr. Supervisor,
Michael, do you have any other callers on the line?
We sure do. I'm unmuting the next caller in queue. The last four digits are 9387.
Hello, gentlemen and ladies. This is Steve McCoy from the Seaplane Pilots Association. We are an international advocacy organization dedicated to working with local, state, and federal officials such as yourself. So I appreciate your time and taking the call today. I just wanted to address the concerns of the town as I've read them and been briefed on them. I'd like to offer the full extent of our resources and expertise in the world of seaplane operations to the town to work with you and the seaplane operators cooperatively to address and mitigate your concerns. In that regard, I did notice that safety is mentioned numerous times in the brief, and as an advocate who tracks seaplane safety issues as well as other forms of transportation and their safety statistics, I can tell you that seaplanes are incredibly safe, to the point that if we use the city of Miami as an example, Cox Airlines operated in the Port of Miami from 1927 to 2005. And in that period, they never had a passenger fatality, they never had contact with a boat, and they never had any injuries that were experienced by any individual that was a resident of the local area. As such, Cox Airlines holds the record as the safest airline in history as a seaplane airline. I'd also like to offer that the city of Seattle has a very successful commercial seaplane operator operating similar size aircraft to what you're experiencing. And in downtown Seattle, in an incredibly congested waterway with many types of different user groups with different types of recreational and commercial boating activity, they again successfully conduct over 17,000 seaplane operations a year, which is far more than anything you're experiencing. And we can bring testimony from the Seattle Police Department and Harbor Patrol to corroborate what we're saying, and we can also offer their services to you to work with us in eliminating and mitigating your concerns. In regards to pollution and environmental impacts, I work with numerous federal agencies on a daily basis. It's a very big part of our mission. And I can tell you that U.S. Fish and Wildlife operates no less than 58 amphibious seaplanes, all of which are turbine aircraft, as you experience. And quote unquote, the reason they use these seaplanes is because they provide the least amount of environmental impact of any other means of transportation to the remote areas and the environments that they're conducting wildlife studies. Again, I stress, they provide the least amount of environmental impact to any mode of transportation available to them as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife are conducting environmental research projects. I am also a government-trained and certified aquatic invasive species inspector and decontaminator. I'm currently working with multiple government organizations around the country and even funding environmental studies in cooperation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Washington, D.C. So we are very qualified to talk about this topic, and I can tell you that when it comes to invasive species in the United States are typically transmitted from freshwater body to freshwater body. That saltwater transmission, especially in a localized area, is not a concern or really a reality. Environmental AIS impacts in the United States are really limited to freshwater occurrences. So I hope in the spirit of democracy, and again, I applaud the opening statements that we had at the beginning of this meeting, where you expressed your sense of democracy and cooperation, that you'll extend the same spirit of cooperation with our community. And again, I'd like to offer the full resources and cooperation of our association to work collectively between the seaplane operators and your community to address your concerns.
Steve, we appreciate you taking the time to call us and give us your comments, and we hope you stay safe and be well. We'll certainly consider everything you've said here today.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next caller, Mr. Supervisor. The phone number is 8005, the last four. Unmuting now. Hello, caller. Are you there? Last four digits, 8005. Hearing nothing, Mr. Supervisor, I could move on.
Thank you, Michael.
The next caller's last four digits are 4376. Unmuting now.
Yes, hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Yes, this is Barry Holden. Can you hear me? Because the phone number you mentioned was one digit off there. Yeah, hi, how are you? First, I want to thank you for doing this as far as it can go. As you know, I've been involved with trying to limit the number of helicopter flights and et cetera, aircraft noise for years. I'm a member of the Southampton Aircraft Noise Advisory Committee. And seaplanes, in my case, are especially, let's call it heinous. I'm on the water in Noyak. We have seaplanes coming over, circling to either land or take off, I guess, so low that you can actually see the rivets on the bottom of the seaplane, and I'm not kidding. They are terrifying. From what I've done in terms of my research, there are almost no restrictions when a seaplane is taking off or landing as to its altitude or minimum altitude. There was one incident in particular where I was on my boat with my 90-year-old mother at the time. A seaplane came over to land right in front of us in Sag Harbor, right in front of the breakwater. So essentially, I could go on and on about that. I just want to say that my main point is I keep hearing from the seaplane companies who have a different take on this than the residents do. And essentially, there are a very small number of residents who take seaplanes, who take helicopters, who need to really think about how they're disturbing the rest of us and terrifying the rest of us with their low altitudes and excessive noise.
Well, Barry, we appreciate you taking the
Can you hear
time to call today. Yes, we can.
Okay, good.
Do you have any other further comments?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No,
Just stay safe.
that's fine. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Moving on to
Michael,
the next caller. Yes, the last four digits of this call are 2617. Unmuting now.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. This is John Corain over in Sag Harbor. How are you today, and Happy New Year? And thank you all for your opening comments. Really, yesterday was a dark day in our country. But today, hearing this agenda is a very bright day that you, Peter, and the board have the courage and conviction to have the efforts underway to restore our quality of life here on the East End for not only the town of East Hampton residents, but for your neighbors on the North Fork and certainly those of us here in the town of Southampton. So I think you've heard Barry Holden, my neighbor, spoke earlier about the nuisance that is caused by the seaplanes flying over our homes here and to the west of you. And I simply just want to echo appreciation for all the hard work that you're doing and to wish you good luck with this effort. And hopefully the town of Southampton will be able to do something very similar in the near future to protect our waterways and the seaplanes that are flying over our homes.
John, thanks so much for calling us today, and we'll certainly keep your comments in mind, and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, moving on to the next caller. Last four digits are 1728. Unmuting now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Patricia Curry calling. I just want to wish you all what we hope will be a very happy New Year. And to thank you for the opportunity to comment today. I am representing Say No to KHTO members in 5 East End towns. And we'd like to thank you and support the proposed ban on seaplanes landing within East Hampton town's municipal waters. We strongly support the need to ensure the health and safety of residents and visitors when they're enjoying recreational activities on our East End waterways. I'd also like to say that I've been personally exposed to seaplanes from the beach on Sag Harbor Bay, in Barcelona Neck, and in Southampton at Sabonic. I've also been exposed to a frightening flyover when I was on a boat outside the Sag Harbor breakwater when a seaplane flew egregiously low over us and several other very small craft that were in the area at the time. I'd also like to mention that many of us have seaplanes flying over our homes frequently. Perhaps they're not landing on your waters, but they're landing at your airport. And these are very loud. They're terrifying when they're low, which they often are. And they've completely destroyed the right of us to peaceful enjoyment of our homes. I'm sure that happens to people living on the water who are exposed to the landing of these aircraft. And we speak also for those residents. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Patricia, for calling in.
Peaceful enjoyment.
Moving on to the next
Stay
caller,
safe.
Mr. Supervisor. The last four digits are 6209. Unmuting right now. I apologize. That's the caller with the phone number of 5057. You're unmuted.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year, Supervisor Van Scoyoc and all the town board members. My name is Susan McGraw-Keeber, and I'm calling as a resident today to just thank you for your heartfelt messages about the horrifying events of yesterday, and to thank you for all taking the initiative to preserve and protect our fragile environment that we all cherish and why people are drawn to visit with us. The safety of our community members who are enjoying our beaches and the health of the beaches themselves is of particular concern to me, and I'm sure to residents of East Hampton Town. So I'd like to thank you for providing this opportunity to speak to you all today, and to thank you for the amendment that is proposed. So, and have a good afternoon, and be well, be safe.
Thank you, Susan. You too.
Moving on to the previous caller, the phone number 6209, unmuting now.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. This is Catherine Sly. As you know, I'm a local East Hampton resident, a constituent, and business owner. And I was giving a call because I have a couple of questions. You had been asked a couple of questions by various people earlier, and I know that was posed as a time for questions now, but none of those questions were answered. So I'd like to ask 3 questions. I'll ask them, and if you choose to answer them, which I would hope you would do, you can go ahead and do so at that time. So my first question is about your council has stated that the safety and health concerns of seaplanes are, quote, well known and well established, except they're not. Several callers already have pointed out that they have no idea what you're talking about and that it's the exact opposite. So the public, the community, your residents would like to know what exactly are these supposed well-known and well-established safety and health concerns? How are they different than those caused by the thousands of boats in our waterways? And what studies have you actually done and performed that will actually quantify and determine exactly what these supposed safety and health concerns are, and then compare them to the boats that are engaging in the exact same activity? So perhaps at some point you could advise us what these supposed well-established and well-known safety and health concerns are, so that the residents can better know exactly what these supposedly are. So we should be entitled to know that information. So that's the first question. Second question, I guess, is dealing with the in-planing and deplaning issue that has been brought up multiple times before the council today. As written, looks like the town can impose a 14-day jail sentence against a seaplane pilot who lands in waters well outside the town's waters, such as Shelter Island, Sag Harbor, North Fork, or virtually anywhere else in the entire Peconic Bay, simply because it receives passengers from a boat that originated within the town's borders. So my question would be, is that the intent of this rule, is that the town intends to impose these penalty provisions against seaplane pilots, even though they've come nowhere near town waters, simply because their passengers originated from town borders? So that's the second question. And the third question I have to ask is, your council's here present today, and as obviously you've had significant input from outside legal counsel and consultants in connection with the evaluation, analysis, development, and drafting of this proposed amendment. So my question is, were any of the East Hampton Airport's funds or monies used to pay for any of these outside legal counsel or consultants? Were any of those funds were the funds that were used to pay for these individuals, did they come from the airport funds? Because this is not an East Hampton Airport issue. So we'd like to know whether or not those funds were misappropriated from the East Hampton Airport funds and used inappropriately. And if so, since it's been demonstrated today that there are several aspects of this proposed amendment that are flawed and will potentially be legally challenged, will the town continue to use the East Hampton Airport's funds to pay for its outside legal counsel and consultants, even though this is not related to the East Hampton Airport? So those are my 3 questions. You can answer them if you choose or not.
Yes, Catherine, I appreciate you taking the time to call us. We did go through, work sessions with discussion of the legislation, and the basic purpose of this day and this hearing is to hear from the public as to what they think. So rather than enter into a debate and questions and answers back and forth, it's really to hear what you have to say about the proposed legislation. I think by virtue of the questions you asked, you basically told us what your concerns are. So I don't know that we need to answer them so much at this point as to listen to them, and we'll certainly acknowledge those.
Okay, I guess then my public statement then as a member of the public and a resident and business owner in East Hampton is I would say that contrary to Mr. Holden, Mr. Corain, Ms. Curry, Ms. McCaskey, who are not residents of East Hampton, contrary to their statements, there are a substantial number of local residents who do in fact support allowing the continued safe operation of seaplanes as part of our community as they have for more than 75 years. So that's a statement from the actual local public residents of East Hampton as for their input on this matter.
Well, we certainly, our goal is to hear directly from those residents that might be impacted, and I appreciate you taking the time. As far as the question about the funds used, the funds were specifically segregated for this purpose and are not drawn from the airport fund. So there was no use of airport funds for this effort.
Thank you for that clarification. It's greatly appreciated.
Sure thing, and thanks for calling, and stay safe and be well.
Moving on to the next caller. The last four digits are 1997. I'm unmuting right now.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello, my name is Jim Underwood. I live in Laurel on North Fork. Thank you for taking the calls and also for your comments earlier today. My concern, well, just in response to the previous caller, talking about how these planes have flown for maybe 75 years. One of the big changes I've seen as a result of COVID this year has been a dramatic increase in the number of seaplanes. On other times, we've been fighting helicopters, but with COVID sort of grounding many of those tourist planes, seaplanes have picked up the slack. As these planes fly over my house on the North Fork derives no economic benefit from this business at all, but yet many of us who live in this particular area are inundated with what appears on some afternoons as a constant buzzing. I look around for a beehive, and it just never stops. So any attempts that your board might be able to do to restrict that number would make me very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and stay safe and be well. Next caller, please.
Yes, moving on to the next caller. Last four digits are 6966. Unmuting right now.
Thank you very much. My name's Ron Klausner. I live in Watermill. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments at the start. And I only hope that the legislators now understand, as someone tweeted earlier today or last night, understand by how frightened they were, how our children and teachers must feel when, God forbid, a active shooter goes into our schools. So hopefully that will also cause some change. But let's get to the point I want to discuss, which are seaplanes. I applaud this legislation. Again, I applaud this legislation. I've been barraged by aircraft over my home. It adversely affects the quality of my life. The aircraft come, they land in not only East Hampton Airport, but they also land in the waterways. As you know from a prior presentation made by your consultants, HMMH, the number of aircraft has been exploding exponentially over the past 5 years and is continuing even more so now off-season as well as in-season. In addition, the number of complaints have been exponentially growing, and many of those complaints have been particularly coming from seaplanes. Seaplanes are very, very noisy. Although I don't live in the town of East Hampton, I'm your neighbor. I shop in East Hampton as well as Southampton and contribute to the well-being of your town, and I have a choice of where to live. And if this noise and pollution continues long enough, I may very well choose to leave this area. As far as the comments about, well, they're only going to land in Gardner's Bay and they don't go over land, well, how are they going to get there? The Eastern Regional Helicopter Association has suggested routes for helicopters. I follow these aircraft as they come over my house, and they're seaplanes, they're helicopters, they're fixed wing, and they seem to follow the suggested routes. When they come from New York or New Jersey and they fly over the ocean, they come through the Shinnecock Canal up to Peconic, across to the southern tip of Robbins Island, and then shoot right across North Sea, Noyac, Watermill on their way to points further east. As far as the comments that, well, what sort of proof do we have that the environment's being adversely affected? I don't have the resources that these big companies have. However, you don't have to be a genius to know that there are environmental adverse effects from these seaplanes. Like the Supreme Court said about porn. I know it when I see it. We've managed to take statistics for noise pollution, which I previously discussed, water pollution and air pollution. We don't have statistics yet. However, I've heard anecdotally that there's a tremendous carbon footprint that's created by these vehicles. In conclusion, what I have to say is the number of people who benefit by the seaplanes are far outweighed by the detriment caused to the residents of Southampton, East Hampton, the North Fork by these seaplanes. Why do 99% of us have to suffer because 1% want to get out here faster? So it takes them an hour and a half longer. Big deal compared to the to what adversely affects me and my neighbors. I don't consider the what they're going to have to give up so great. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks for calling us today, Ron. Stay safe.
Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits, 4414. Unmuting right now. Hello, caller with the digits 4414. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Mr. Supervisor, I can move on.
Thanks, Michael.
Moving on to caller with the last four digits 9525. Unmuting right now.
Hi, good afternoon, and Happy New Year to the board. John Cullen calling from Northville, town of Riverhead. I just want to say that I fully support this legislation and that the town of Riverhead also passed a similar resolution just 8 months ago. And I just want to pass that on. Obviously, I am also on the seaplane route. Luckily, the helicopters have been lowered down with their all-water route, supposedly, around Orient Point, but the seaplanes kept going on the same exact route from previous years, right through my neighborhood and over Mr. Underwood's area also. But I completely support the legislation, and I thank you for your time, and I wish you all well. Thank you again.
Thanks for calling, John. Be well.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next caller. Last four digits 7021. Unmuting right now. Hello, caller with the last four digits 7021. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Mr. Supervisor, I'll move on.
Thank you, Mike.
The next caller is the last four digits are 6234. Unmuting now.
Hi, this is Jonathan Wallace of Amagansett. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jonathan. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, and Happy New Year to the TAN board. I support this legislation. I wanted to mention something that I think I've passed along before. Personal experience from a period of time, a couple summers ago, when my wife and I spent a lot of time at Devon Beach. There was a local resident with property nearby who would land his seaplane with some regularity. I witnessed it at least twice, a couple hundred feet out, and then actually drive it straight through the swimmers up on the beach and seaplane there. And I think that one of the major effects of this legislation will be to target that kind of behavior. I think that at the time, the existing code relating to watercraft and the fines associated with it simply served as no deterrent whatever to this individual and that behavior. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan. Stay safe.
Moving on to the last caller I have, which is last four 9863. Unmuting right now. Hello, caller. Last four digits of your call, 9863. Are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, Supervisor, Town Board. My name is Jock Percy, Dr. Jock Percy. I'm an Amagansett. Thank you for allowing some discourse on this. I can't speak to any anecdotal tales of woe, but I can tell you that my commute at mission critical times with a young family on an occasional basis has been life-saving. Without the operation of some of these aircraft, notably the seaplanes, which are fast and relatively quiet, then that potential opportunity for life-saving operations is negated. That's for one, and that's just to share. I also wanted to add that I live near the beach, but I don't complain about the noise from the ocean, nor from the nearby railroad in Amagansett, nor from the traffic on 27. So I think it's unfair for people who have, who have noise from aircraft, who know that they live in and around an aircraft landing point, to complain about such noise. Therefore, I oppose this legislation, and I think that passing of it would, in fact, be a real disappointment, a disservice to a young and thriving part of Long Island in New York. Thank you.
Thank you for calling us today, Dr. Percy.
We do have another new caller.
Stay safe and be well.
If you're ready, I can unmute the
Have any
next
other
caller.
callers, Michael?
Yes, I do. The last four digits are 5530. Unmuting right now. Hello.
I oppose this.
Hello, caller, with the last four digits 5530. If you could mute your television in the background, you're live with the town board.
Appointment as this service for a young and thriving part of.
Hello, caller, are you there? Last four digits 5530.
Percy.
The phone line's open, Mr. Supervisor, but they're not responding.
They could be wrong.
Okay, Michael, in that case, I think we can move on.
Okay, there are no new callers. There are 4 callers whose lines, when I did open, they didn't speak. But other than that, we have no new callers.
Would you like to go back quickly and please check those other lines?
Sure. I'm going to unmute the phone caller with the last 4 digits 7723 right now. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hi, my name is Eric Christensen. Yeah, my name is Eric Christensen. How are you doing?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. I was a former pilot for Shoreline Aviation when it was in business, and I am now the assistant chief pilot for Tailwind Air, and one of the many seaplane pilots that operate in the East Hampton area. Some of the comments that were brought up regarding seaplanes being dangerous, as some other callers have said before, I'd just like to mention that there's no history in the East Hampton waterways of any seaplane incidents where people were injured. So I'd like to bring that to the front. And then also the environmental impacts of the seaplanes. I don't think that there's any evidence that would be in favor of prohibiting seaplanes based on environmental impacts versus day-to-day boat operations in East Hampton. We fly in and out of there pretty regularly, and I can tell you that there are far more boats on the waterways than there are seaplanes. So I don't really see how banning seaplanes is going to help the environment when you have so many boats running around on a day-to-day basis. And then as far as the seaplanes being more prolific during COVID, that's actually false. I think it's probably a safe assumption that if you called the seaplane operations in the region, all of us had less business this year due to COVID, just like every other air carrier out there. So the fact that somebody said that there was more seaplanes flying, that's just not accurate at all.
Do you have any other comments, Eric?
No, I think that's it. I think that I'd like to reiterate that, I'm obviously against this proposed legislation, and, I'd like to follow up just by saying that I appreciate your all's time and giving us the chance to speak.
I appreciate you taking the time to call us and let us know what you think. That's really important to us. So
hey, thank you.
Thanks again, and stay safe and be well.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Moving along to a caller that was previously not there, but we'll see. Last four digits are 8005. Unmuting now.
Thank you for your time today. Just listening.
Okay, very good. Stay safe and be well.
Moving back to the phone number of 4414. Unmuting now. Hello, caller, with your phone numbers, last four digits, 4414. Are you there? Hearing nothing, I can move on to the last phone caller who has hung up. So we have gone through the entire queue.
At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Take a motion to close pursuant to the COVID-19 transcript actions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, if you would read our next, and thank you, outside counsel William Barr and William O'Connor and Andrew Barr for joining us today. Carol, if you'd read the next hearing notice.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law and the Chapter 16 of the Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 7th at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to hear comments of all persons wishing to be heard concerning the filing grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is William Shea as trustee of the William Shea Living Trust. It's scenic and conservation easement dated October 29th, 2020. The location is 65 Beach Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300, 177, 122, and the zoning board is the reviewing agency.
Thank you very much, Carol. Michael, do we have any callers for this hearing?
I believe we do. I'll unmute this caller right now whose number is 0159. He has, or she has, hung up, and there are no other callers that are new regarding this hearing.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you very much. We'll now enter the public portion of the meeting where any member of the public may call us and comment on any topic. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And Michael, do we have any callers on the line?
There is simply one caller who has not been available previously, so I'm assuming they're still not. But if you want me to just open it up, I will. That's the only caller we got.
Try one more time. They may have been holding for public comment.
Fair enough. I'm unmuting caller 4414 right now. Hello, caller. That's our signal that everyone is hung up.
Very good. Thank you. I think you guys should come up with a new guitar riff, though.
No comment.
At this point, our public hearings have been completed. The public portion, we don't have any callers currently on the line. I would like to move to approval of resolutions. If we do get a caller at some point, we'll try and take that call later.
All right, so I'll start with Resolution 2021-95. It's the approval of the warrant. Claims total $564,307.69, and the utility warrant totals $38,245.88.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's carried.
Resolution 2021-96 is to increase the cap to $15,000 for the law office of Vincent Toomey, General Matters for 2020. That will bring the total for the law firm to $165,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-97 is to amend the CSCA Schedule A to reflect the regrade of the title of Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager from a grade 15 to a grade 20, effective retroactive to January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer 2021-98. This is the schedule of public hearing for the Way Project Plan Edition. The property is located at 300-42-1-14 Suffolk County Tax Map. The property is also at 252 Gerard Drive. The public hearing will be January 21st at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2021-99 is the schedule of public hearing for real property acquisition. The property owner is Philip Way. Location is 240, 246, 252, and 256 Gerard Drive, Springs. Tax maps 342-1-11, 12, 14, and 16. Proposed purchase price is $3.6 million. The public hearing is scheduled for January 21st, 2021 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2021-100 is the Hook Pond Cove, the Air Preserve Management Plan to schedule a public hearing. Whereas the town is the owner of the real property located at 81 Ocean Avenue. It's in the village of East Hampton. And the Nature Preserve Committee created proposed draft management plan titled the Hook Pond Cove Preserve. It was discussed at the town board meeting on October 13th, 2020. I would like to schedule the public hearing for the adoption of this potential management plan for Thursday, January 21st, 2021 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2021-101 is the Maloney Management Plan to schedule a public hearing where the town is the owner of the real property located at 880 and 888 Springs Fireplace Road. The Nature Preserve Committee created a draft management plan titled Maloney Preserve. It was discussed at the town work session on December 1st, 2020. I would like to schedule a public hearing for its potential hearing and adoption on January 21st, 2021 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2021-102 is the reclassification of the title for Douglas Salazar. He is hereby been appointed to the title of Maintenance Mechanic 2 in the Parks Department at an hourly rate of $24.44 per hour for $50,532.50 annually, grade 16 off step for a 40-hour work week to be paid bi-weekly, effective January 1st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
103 is a reclassification of title for Quasi Frazier, where he will be hereby appointed to the title of automotive equipment operator with the Parks Department at an hourly rate of $21.81 per hour, $45,358.56 annually. Grade 18, Step 2 for 40-hour work week to be paid bi-weekly, retroactive to January 1st, 2021.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I'd like to offer 2021-104 to establish a leave bank share time for land acquisition employee Andrew Drake.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2021-105 is a budget modification for the distribution of the 2020 Turkey Trot net proceeds. We'd like to modify, put in the budget line for recreational fees, an amount of $2,110, expenditures special events in the amount of $2,110, and to be distributed to the following food pantries, each equally for $527.50. The Montauk Food Pantry, the East Hampton Food Pantry, the Springs Food Pantry, the East Hampton Meals on Wheels.
That's great. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
106 is a budget modification for parks and beaches. This is for motor vehicles and repairs supply in the amount of $42 to a different budget line for motor vehicles repair and supply, also in the amount of $42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
This is 2021-107. It's the amended resolution 2020-149, whereas the resolution 2020-149 directed the budget officer to post a budget modification and distribute the net proceeds, where the budget modification and distribution were never processed. Therefore, the town board directs the budget office to post the budget modification and distribute the funds effective December 2020 accordingly.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
108 is the accepted donation of a memorial bench and a gift from the Friends of George Capon. This bench will be placed at the park known as the Wainscott Green in Wainscott, tax map 300-197-1-40.001.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
109 is authorization for CCOM to install floating wetlands in Fort Pond, where the town of East Hampton issued the RFAs for water quality improvements for June of 2019. But based on the pandemic, this specific application and project is slow started, whereas the money awarded to the CCOM was the amount of $25,211 to install 3,000 square feet of temporary floating wetlands in Fort Pond. Resolved that the CCOM is hereby authorized to install 3,000 square feet of temporary floating wetlands mats and plantings with anchor points on town of East Hampton owned underwater lands, tax map parcels 300-48-3-40.001 and 300-27-3-2 in accordance with executed contract in 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2021-110 is accept the memorial bench donation from a gift of Phil Hewitt. This is to be placed in the memory of his brother who recently passed. My condolences. To be placed on the jetty side of East Lake facing Gosman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2021-111 is accept a donation for the Lars Simonson Skate Park, where the town has recently established a reserve account through Resolution 2020-1165 for the purposes of accepting and designating donations to be used for the continued maintenance, upkeep, and potential future expansion of the Lars Simonson Skate Park, also known as the Lions Field Skate Park. We would like to accept the greatly generous donation from Mr. John Brennan III and his wife, Chasey, in the amount of $50,000.
Thank you. Second.
Yes, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Very generous.
2021-112 is to reimburse banker boxes for shredding to Gabriella Gallier in the amount of $29.99, in which she paid them initially through her personal credit card.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2021-113 is to approve emergency repairs for 18th Street in Springs, whereas they're in need of repairs for public safety, and that the Highway Superintendent, Steve Lynch, is requested to make the necessary emergency repairs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Thank you.
Resolution 2021-114 is Eli Irving LLC grant of scenic and conservation easement, schedule of public hearing. There is a change here. It says Thursday, January the 7th. It needs to say January 21st at 11 a.m. is the time of the hearing. It's for a scenic and conservation easement. And it is at 143 Marine Boulevard in Amagansett. The reviewing agency is Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second is amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-115 is a payout upon resignation of Fabia Mubasra. And the amount to be paid is vacation hours, $1,648.86, $1,500 compensatory, 1.5, compensatory hours, which is $38.28 at the hourly rate of $25.52 per hour, for a gross total of $1,687.13 as a final payout.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-116 is a budget modification for Camp Hero. And there were insufficient funds in the repairs account to cover the cost of clearing and clearing of the pumps. Now therefore be resolved that from year 2020, we're taking $2,484 from Light and Power, $382 from maintenance, appropriated funds of $3,395.84, putting them into the repairs at $6,261.92.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-117 is completion of stipulation of settlement for Timothy Skellinger. Timothy is to return as a heavy equipment operator in the settlement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-118 is to a change in the budget account for Derek Highsmith. Derek is an often assistant in the planning department, and it was resolved that Derek is to be paid biweekly from the Architectural Review Board budget account with no change in title or schedule or hourly salary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-119 is submit grant for reimbursement of expenditures for 2020 stop days. The stop days were East Hampton Sanitation Department held 2 of them. It's called Stop Throwing Out Pollutants. One was on June 27th, the other November 7th. The town had contracted with Radiac Research Corporation for the collection and disposal of local household waste. The cost of the project was $22,950 for each day of waste collection at East Hampton Recycling Center and the Montauk Transfer Station. The town of East Hampton is eligible for a 50% reimbursement of these expenses from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And it's resolved that the town of East Hampton will submit a grant application to the New York State DEC for reimbursement of $45,900.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-120 is to create accounts for the Community Housing Opportunity Fund for 2021. These accounts, as approved, would be an account for the sale of property of $398,500, another account for a purchase of property for $350,000, an account created for Light and Power at $3,000, an account created for water at $1,000, account created for heat at $4,500, and an account created for outside counsel at $40,000.
Second.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2021-121 is a second revision for Reso 2020-674 to retain Regano LLC as the consultant and counsel for air quality. This is the air quality issues related to the construction of an affordable housing development related to apparent off-gassing issues from construction materials. The town is committed to resolving the issue and providing safe and livable units for the purchasers of these units. James Regano and the firm Regano LLC has had extensive experience in addressing this type of issue and has agreed to assist the town in pursuing an appropriate resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that the firm Regano LLC is hereby retained as environmental counsel to provide legal and consulting services to the town of East Hampton. Said counsel is authorized to take all necessary and appropriate action on behalf of the town in coordination with the town attorney to develop a solution to the air quality issues at the town's project. And payment for said counsel shall be an amount not to exceed $25,000 for Regano LLC upon claim of vouchers properly submitted, and that he is authorized to hire a subcontractors to assist with the case in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Second.
Okay, so the total $60,000 for outside counsel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's carried.
Resolution 2021-122 is to amend the use district zoning map property of town of East Hampton at 400 Panago Place. We held a public hearing November 5th to consider the local law and change in the use map in order to change the use or district classification of certain property from parks and conservation to commercial industrial. And this is indeed going to change it to those specifications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-123 is to reject bid EH 20036 for snow plowing at the East Hampton Airport for 2020 on the recommendation of Jim Brundage, the airport director, and we're going to be rebidding this work.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-124 is the notice to bidders, the re-notice to bidders on the same bid for snow plowing at the East Hampton Airport, with the rebidding information available January 7th, 2021, and the bid due by January 14th, 2021, and the specifications can be examined and obtained by email to Jeannie Carosa at easthamptonny.gov or purchasing at easthamptonny.gov or by calling the office of the senior purchasing agent between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 a.m. at 324-4183.
Second.
Just a brief question. Since this bid was rejected and a new bidding is taking place, what do we have in place in terms of snow plowing at the airport in the interim?
We have an extension of the existing contract. I think it's coming up.
Two resolutions from now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-125 is to retain HMMH, the firm that handles our data analysis on operations and noise complaints analysis for the 2020 shoulder seasons for an amount, an additional cost not to exceed $12,505 pursuant to their proposal dated December 21st, 2020. I'm sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-126 is the temporary extension of the contract known as EH 17-039, which is the existing snow plowing contract at the airport, which is being executed by Southampton Excavation and Site Development LLC. And we are extending by agreement, a temporary extension of their agreement. And according to the general conditions in the agreement, in the interim period of time until we open bids on the rebidding for the same work.
Yeah, I thought we'd have a provision for this, and then I thought it'd just be closer to the other resolution. I'm really happy to see it because this will ensure that we get no snow.
Exactly.
If we hadn't passed the extension, we could have counted on the blizzard of all times.
Right.
So do we have a second?
Now
We have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-127 is to approve a change order number 1 to the Sag Harbor Stormwater Abatement Program. We took bids on this, and it was awarded to Laser Industries, and we are now adding approximately 52 linear feet of concrete curbing, which was not included in the original specifications. And so this change order proposes to pay for those 52 extra linear feet of concrete at a cost of $55 per foot for a total of $2,860.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Thank you, Jeff. Resolution 128 is to bond $45,900 for road improvements at Pheasantwood Lane. This is part of making improvements there, ultimately bring that road into the highway system.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
We need a roll call.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that.
Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilman Bragman,
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 129 is to reappoint Tun Han to the Assessment Review Board. And the effective dates, it's retroactive to October 1st, 2020, expiring September 30th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 130 is to appoint seasonal snow removal driver for the Highway Department, Christine Gowdy, and that is an hourly rate of $25, payable biweekly. Retroactive to January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 131 is to amend the CSCA Schedule A to add Assistant Environmental Protection Director. That would be director at a grade 33 with a full-time schedule range of 30, 35, or 40 hours per week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 132 is provisional appointment to Assistant Environmental Protection Director Mark Abramson. And that would be at annual salary of $84,998.18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 133 is a list of appointment police officers. This is resolved that Jack Borey, Nicole Fierro, and Nicholas Cosanas be placed on unpaid leave until the start of the Suffolk County Police Department Police Academy at a date to be determined. That academy was canceled earlier in the year, and we're waiting for another academy to start. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 134 is a promotion and reclassification of the title of Dwayne Denton. Dwayne Denton is hereby promoted to Fire Marshal 2 in the Fire Marshal Department, and that would be an hourly rate of $33.53 or $69,742.40, grade 29, step 6, retroactive to January 6th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 135 is a reclassification of title for Emily Bono in the Purchasing Department, and that would be an hourly rate of 50%. At an hourly rate at $23.06, an annual rate of $47,971.04.
Second.
And 50% is also it's paid between the clerk, senior account clerk, human resources, and purchasing departments. Just to make that clear. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 136 is to increase salary for East Hampton Town Police Department part-time officer Jake Lee Bramwell, and that rate will be increased to $28 per hour, effective retroactive January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 137 is payout the resignation of David Betts, and that would be for a gross total of $19,488.74, which includes vacation time and sick time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 138 is a termination, resignation of part-time, seasonal, and quarterly employees. Peter Gumpel as the board member of the Architectural Review Board, effective 12/10/2020. Maya Judge, student intern, aquaculture, effective for 2020, and Betsy Martin, Justice Court Clerk, the Justice Court for October 29th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 139 is termination of employee David Williams. David Williams' employment with town shall be and hereby effectively terminated as of January 8th, pursuant to Section 73 of the New York State Civil Service Law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. 140 is to increase the CAP, Division of Human Rights claim, and this is for the services of Richard Zuckerman, Esquire, and he resolved that the increase in funding is required to such increase shall be capped at $8,000, constituting a total of $18,000 for calendar year 2020. Resolved that Mr. Zuckerman shall be paid at a rate not to exceed $315 an hour for partners at a total cost of the same $18,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 141 is a budget modification for buildings and grounds. This is to move $170 from full-time salaries to repairs general in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 142 is a modification of buildings and grounds, moving $511 from full-time salaries to water in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 143 is a resolution for budget modification in the supervisor's office. Supervisor is known as a very big spender. The amount is moving $5.68 for furniture and fixtures to office expense and $5.68.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
I think we should have an explanation.
$5.68. What?
Come on.
Couldn't you
Hey,
spend more?
if you must know, I need a new ring binder for 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. Resolution 144 is a budget modification from the town attorney, and that is moving $18,000, $10,000, and $12,000 from various New York State retirement accounts to outside professional in the total amount of $40,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 145 is to authorize a renewal agreement of the Tri-Buron Tri-Tech 2021. And that is resolved that the increase, oops, turn wrong page, turn. Resolved that the agreement with Tri-Tech, aka Central Square for software support for the term of 11/15/20 through 11/14/21 is hereby approved at a cost of town not to exceed $57,059.56, and authorizes supervisor to approve such an agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 146, extend night differential for Marine Patrol for 2021. And this authorizes night differential pay for harbor masters to be extended through December 31st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 147 is to authorize for assessor to renew real property tax exemptions for 2021. This relates to exemptions that would be for eligible parties under STAR and whatnot. And due to COVID, the town board signed on to a letter that I sent to the governor and also sent to the sub-county supervisors requesting that the governor make provisions in law to extend those exemptions for another year, because most folks that would be eligible are seniors more vulnerable to COVID as well as the disabled. So I'm very happy that Governor Cuomo acted in time for us to take on this home rule change and make that exemption legal. So I'll have a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 148 is to authorize timekeeper software for the East Hampton Police Department for 2021. And this would be an annual cost of $5,202 for the year with Schedule Soft Corp.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 149 is to authorize agreement. Novatime Software and Resolving Budget Office is hereby authorized to pay Andrews Technology, HMS, Incorporated, the sum of $43,943 for charges regarding licensing, maintenance, support for the fiscal year of 2021, commencing February 1st, 2021, and ending January 31st, 2022, to support the Finance Department time and attendance functions. Set amount to be paid from the appropriate budget line in the amount of $35,154.40 and in the amount of $8,788.60 for a total from another budget line for a total of $43,943.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 150 is to authorize remote monitoring and maintenance agreement for East Hampton Police Department for 2021. Resolved that the proposal of Total Technology Solutions for remote monitoring and maintenance of the essential support plan for the police department computer servers at an annual cost of the town of $32,304 is hereby accepted. The cost to be paid from the appropriate budget line.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 151, professional filing services. Resolved that the service of Gerald Weinberg, PC, attorneys at law, is hereby retained to provide service for the service of process upon Secretary of State for enforcement proceedings in the Town Justice Court as needed at a cost of $15 plus $10 filing fee for a total of $25 per service payable from the appropriate budget account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 152 is to authorize engineering inspection for the bonded Pheasant Woods Lane. And that is, let's see, not to exceed a cost of $5,000. The retention of LK McLean Associates PC is hereby ordered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. Are there any additional resolutions for board members to offer?
There's one additional resolution, ID number 23753. It's to authorize assignment Ronald Sullivan, Town Industrial Park.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Michael, do we have any callers on the line?
We did, but they have hung up. We do not have any current callers on the line.
Okay. We have a motion for exec session.
What are we going into exec session for? I don't have it on my,
Do we have any items for exec session?
Oh, it was for Tuesday.
I don't.
It was for Tuesday we had.
Well, I know we have some for Tuesday. I just didn't know if there was anything the board members needed to speak about in exec today regarding.
Anything that I have.
Okay, I think that's it. Then I'll entertain a motion to close.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Please take care and be safe, everyone, and we wish you a great week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.